when they was coming out because I'd see my numbers. I know what my numbers look like. I told y'all yesterday, I'm down 2 to 3 million views a month covering this league. Now, everybody else views ain't that low, but that's none of my business. Now, something I will say is that the men lie, women lie. The numbers, unfortunately, just do not lie. Now, in the case of a season where the Indiana Fever is trying to find their way to making it to that next level, and that is a WNBA championship.
Today is not a great day for the Indiana Fever organization. The team has no injury concerns heading into their scheduled matchup.
But there are bigger problems brewing beneath the surface. Word is that the front office has already made a call for backup.
Because the chickens have come home to roost, the WNBA as a whole is scrambling to secure enough revenue to push through a new CBA media deal.
And the viewership numbers surrounding Caitlin Clark are turning into a full-blown crisis compared to previous seasons.
The figures are alarming, and this opening stretch may go down as one of the least watched starts to any Caitlin Clark season, whether in college or the pros. It is really that rough.
To making it to that next level, and that is a WNBA championship, you expect to see skyrocket viewership numbers. I'm talking like in the 3 to 4 million range, maybe touch 5. Now, with that being said, Caitlin Clark hadn't played a game since July 13, 2025, an actual game. Now, we should see a significant influx in views. Now, I'm here to tell you that wasn't the case. Now, they play tonight, the Los Angeles Sparks, and I just got to be honest.
The numbers were out, and everyone was watching to see what the data would reveal. Coverage across WNBA content has taken a visible hit. Some outlets are reporting drops in 5. The neighborhood of 2 to 3 million monthly views. And the broader trend is not encouraging for anybody in the league, because numbers do not bend. The truth. Men can stretch it, women can stretch it, but figures on a page stay exactly where they are, at a point in the season where the Indiana Fever are supposed to be building toward a championship run. The expectation was that viewership would be exploding.
Play tonight, the Los Angeles Sparks, and I just got to be honest. I think the viewership tonight going to be even lower than the 2.6 million that came out yesterday. Yes, I feel like I think it is going to be bad. Simply because we have Stephanie White doing this experiment with this team that is not looking very well. It's not a good product. You know, like you ever been to the store and you want to buy something and it's the latest fab, and then you finally get it and you realize, damn, this ain't what I thought it was going to be.
The range of 3 to 4 million, maybe even brushing 5, seemed reasonable, given that Clark had not played a real game since July 13.
2025, there should have been a flood of returning eyeballs. That flood did not come. 0.5 million viewers, landing it as the second most watched WNBA regular season game ever across ESPN networks. On the surface, that sounds solid, but context matters.
Fab, and then you finally get it and you realize, damn, this ain't what I thought it was going to be. I feel like that's what the Indiana Fever is going through right now. I think a lot of people brought it to the product last year and this offseason, how Stephanie White was going to come be the savior, you know, and quite frankly, she was a wolf in sheep clothing. You know, to be quite honest, at this rate, we would have been better off keeping Christy Sides. I just got to be honest. At least Christy Sides went with the program and she shut the hell up and she just let Caitlin do her thing. You know, no.
7 million. That is a drop of roughly 300,000 viewers. That is not a minor blip. That is a meaningful trend moving in the wrong direction. There is also a technical wrinkle worth noting. Beginning last season, the WNBA adjusted how it counts viewership.
Program and she shut the hell up and she just let Caitlin do her thing. You know, no. We're not getting that with Stephanie White. Stephanie White is either saying you're doing it my way or it's the highway. We just got to see how it all plays out. But man, as you guys can see here, these are the numbers, man. 2.5 million views. Indiana Fever, second most watched WNBA regular season game across ESPN networks. Y'all think that's
Bars, restaurants, group, events now factor into the totals. Categories that previously went uncounted. That means the real decline in traditional
Viewership is sharper than the headline numbers suggest. The drop is being softened by new counting methods, and even with that cushion,
the numbers are still sliding. 0.5 million viewers, and the most watched regular season game across ESPN in the modern era was last year's Fever Sky matchup, a 25-year record. Clark is undeniably the most marketable player the league has ever produced.
regular season game across ESPN networks. Y'all think that's good. Y'all think that's real good. It stated the May 9th Indiana Fever game is now the second most watched WNBA regular season game ever across ESPN. Fun fact, right? Shout out to Harriet Eve. She stated CC brought in 2.5 million viewers on her first season game in 2026. Oh, we had to ask because they had no intention on giving CC any shine. The WNBA was not going to share Kayla Clark's impact.
And yet the arrow is pointing downward. Tonight the Fever face the Los Angeles Sparks on USA Network, a cable channel with a smaller footprint than. It is a late game.
further limiting casual viewership. The prediction from multiple corners of the media landscape is that tonight's number will not reach 2.7 million is the realistic expectation.
Being the ceilings for Indiana's average viewership throughout the rest of the season, unless something dramatic changes the conversation. After the Sparks game, the schedule does not get much easier from a ratings standpoint.
The WNBA was not going to share Kayla Clark's impact. Fun fact, the most watched game in history is the 2000 WNBA Finals, which drew an average 3.5 million viewers. Kayla is the most marketable player in WNBA history. Now, after hearing something like that, you would think, okay, we are in good hands. Let's head over here. Let's read these numbers. Let's listen to what Richard had to say. Sources.
A matchup against the Mystics on ION follows. Another evening game, then a Peacock exclusive against the Storm. None of these are positioned to.
This is a real problem for a league that just secured a new billion-dollar media deal and needs to demonstrate its
Commercial value. Part of the viewership trouble traces back to how head coach Stephanie White is running this operation. The experiment she is conducting with this roster is not resonating.
Sources tell me Saturday game between Indiana Fever and the Dallas Wings averaged 2.49 million viewers on ABC. That's down slightly from last year's corresponding Fever game with the W's ABC opener, which drew 2.7 million viewers. You see a trend here? Now, I told y'all, my channel was down 2 to 3 million views. Now, that's over a month.
There is a gap between what fans expected coming into this season. A polished A5
elevated product under a celebrated new coaching hire and what is actually being delivered on the floor. White arrived with the reputation of someone
who could come in and take the team to another level. So far, the product on the court does not reflect that. The previous coaching staff,
For all its criticisms,
at least stayed out of the way and lets the team star do what she does. That approach is gone. Right now it is either the coach's system or nothing. And the results are visible in both the standings and the television numbers.
Wow. Final 87-78. Fever scored 20 and 19 in the third and fourth quarters, respectively. Gave up 26 in the fourth quarter of this game and escaped in L.A., escaped from L.A. That was a movie, right? Starring Kurt Russell. Caitlin Clark tonight, 9 of 17. She's still...
The Fever have had roughly 5 to 6 days off heading into tonight's game. They were embarrassed by the Dallas Wings in their last outing. The Cavalry
has been called. Whether that changes anything on the court or in the ratings remains to be seen. The Indiana Fever pulled off a narrow road victory
over the Los Angeles Sparks, finishing with a final score of 87-78. It was far from a clean performance,
with the Fever managing just 20 points in the third quarter and 19 in the fourth. Numbers that kept the game uncomfortably close.
Cannot find her three-point shot. I don't know what's going on. I think that's something that's consistent, in my opinion, with an injury of some sort, whether it's lower body, whether it's a back, whatever it is. By the way, Lexi Hull now wearing a back brace. I was in the Ben Daniel podcast chat tonight. We were joking. They're going to end up having the whole team in a brace if we're not careful.
The Sparks poured in 26 points in that final period,
making things tense down the stretch. Before Indiana held on, Caitlin Clark finished the night with 24 points and 9 assists on 9 of 17 shooting. Though her three-point attempts remain a concern, she connected on just 1 of 7 from beyond the arc. The step-back three, a staple of her game,
simply hasn't been dropping lately.
And the catch-and-shoot looks appear to be a more reliable option for her at this stage. There's speculation that some kind of physical issue, lower
body or back related, could be behind the shooting struggles,
as the pattern has been consistent enough to raise questions. She was particularly sharp in the first quarter and made some timely buckets in the
fourth to keep LA from closing the gap entirely.
17, 1 of 7 from three-point range, 9 assists, 24 points for Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell, 23 points, 9 of 17, 3 of 9 from three-point range. Sophie added in some valuable points tonight. She had 7 rebounds, 12 points. Monique Billings, 8 rebounds, 9 points in this ball game. And
Clark also got into a brief dispute with an official near the end of the first half and was hit with a technical. Kelsey Mitchell, foul. Toll turned in a strong showing with 23 points on 9 of 17 shooting,
drilling 3 of 9 from three-point range. She also appeared to roll her ankle at some point during the game. Sophie contributed 12 points and 7
rebounds off steady play, while Monique Billings hauled in 8 rebounds to go with 9 points. On the Sparks side,
Kelsey Plum led all scorers with 25 points.
And Kelsey Plum had 25 for the LA Sparks. Whoa. I got to tell you, at times, that basketball was ugly tonight. Real ugly. Pace of play, rough to watch sometimes. Caitlin Clark, first half, 11.6 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block. Well, Caitlin Clark was dominant in the first quarter of this game.
But LA's overall shooting was rough throughout. At one point,
the team sat at 13 of 37 from the field. The late offensive burst that made the final score look competitive came more from sloppy Indiana play and
reckless LA shot selection than from any kind of organized offensive system. The Sparks turned the ball over repeatedly and fired up ill-advised
attempts throughout the night, keeping this from being characterized as any kind of defensive masterpiece by the Fever. Lexi Hull, meanwhile, was spotted wearing a back brace, adding to what's becoming a growing injury concern around the team. The win was needed,
and Indiana got it. But the overall quality of basketball on display left plenty to be desired from both sides.
And then she had some valuable scores in the fourth quarter to keep this thing from getting away. Caitlin Clark right here. Let's go. Down the court. Over to Sophie. Nice little lay-in. Nice little lay-in, indeed. That's what we like to see. Caitlin to Sophie for three.
Get you the ball right when you...
Let's just mute that. Over to her. Bam. Knocked it down. Nice stuff. Good stuff. What we like to see. Kelsey Mitchell. She had 17 before the half.
Tweet and Fever in the
And
Sparks.
I think she might have actually had 20 at the half in this game, actually. She did, by the way, twist her ankle in this game. Caitlin Clark, at the end of the half, after they went to half, got into it with the ref, got teed up. Got teed up in this game. So that was interesting. And then, guys, we got to see this. Here's Caitlin with the three. Look, the catch and shoot might have to be the way to go right now because the step back three for Caitlin Clark is not working right now. For whatever reason, it is not falling down. And you hate to see it, you know? You absolutely hate to see it. But, yeah, got a little scary there at the end. Don't let any